Kush sovereignty, black righteousness. Bill James Bolin. Chapter Ne, History Lesson. Big Ma heard Kush and walked toward the door unnoticed, and listened in as Kush finished. She started to cry. Kush, that was so beautiful. Kush smiled, thanks Big Ma. Samuel sat there with a tear falling from his eye and a deep lump in his throat. What's the title? You should have led off with the title first. Kush sighed, then Daddy, you told me to read and read from the heart. I didn't know about no title. I guess God is like your grandfather. After wiping the tear from his eye, Samuel sighed, well, you wrote it, you'll come up with a title later. I loved it and you got the gift, son, you can only get better with time. Kush was excited and started blushing. Thanks, Dan. Daddy. The room was quiet for a few seconds, then Kush sighed, Dan Daddy, I saw Gemini this morning. He seems to know what I'm saying. Samuel nods his head, he does. The approval from his grandfather, or maybe it was the coffee kicking in, but Kush became filled with so many questions. Will you call him Gemini? Samuel raised his eyebrows. Well, son, he was born on my birthday, May 25, which falls within the zodiac sign of Gemini. No, I'm not talking on astrology. You can ask your grandmothers about that. The way they explain it to me is that if you're looking down on the Torah, the words you say are the stars and everything beneath the words in white is the universe. And we are living in a galaxy somewhere in that universe. And that's who's about Zeus as well. When you were born, the sun, moon and stars aligned in such a way that it gives you your personality or something like that. Samuel waved his hands in the air. Again, you're going to have to ask both of your grandmothers. They's the honest that can talk to plants and stuff like that. They can explain it way better than me. Let me finish listening to my recording, and we can finish where I left off. Yesterday. I'm an avid listener of wise teachers, new and old prophets, and just the truth like that of Friedrich, Daniel, and one of my favorites was Prophetess Akela Malik. You say, wisdom allows you to hear the same message over and get something different out of it every time you listen to it. Then Samuel turned toward Billy. Billy. Unpause the recording I was listening to earlier. Billy replied, Sura. A few seconds later. This month of August, celebrating my Black Indigenous Native American roots and heritage. While my heart goes out to the victims of the catastrophic flooding in Kentucky, it must be remembered and is seldom mentioned that these were all lands that were occupied by the birthright of Native Americans. We were here. We were first. These lands were taken from my ancestors by European colonizers. The state of Kentucky derives its name from an Iroquois word, Kentucky, which has several meanings. One of these is the River of Blood, which describes the present flooding situation. Rivers of water flow through the land. Half of your states in the USA have names that are indigenous in origins. The colonizers named some out of guilt deriving from the knowledge that these lands were taken from their original people, many of whom were driven off of it, and others because natives dominated the region and preserved their heritage in the names. It is the belief of indigenous people the world over that for every act of injustice and inequality, and there will be a reckoning. What is sent out will return in like measure as it was given, as Yeshua the Messiah made clear, with whatever measure you made, it will be measured back again. Or what Imhotep the Egyptian sage said, what goes around, comes back. With that in mind, I give you a declaration of sovereignty, honoring the aboriginal people of Earth. As honorary Queen Mother, ordained a prophet and priest of the one most high and inspired messenger of the only true and living and sovereign Creator, Elohai, I make this declaration on behalf of the global nation of aboriginal indigenous people of the earth. We are the first to establish human footprints upon the earth, and the first to set it with life. As such, we declare our right to live as independent sovereign nations upon the earth, which is our inheritance given by the Creator. A right of inheritance institutionalized in the Constitution of the United States as well as its Declaration of Independence, and validated by one of its so-called founding fathers, President Thomas Jefferson. Who echoed the universal dictum that these truths are self-evident, that all men are created equal. Endowed by their Creator with certain rights inalienable, that is, these cannot be circumvented by man nor taken away by them. Although these rights have been trampled upon and violated by those who both invaded, colonized and oppressed those of us who are the original people of the earth. Through globalized colonization and economic depression, an attempt was made through a divide and conquer strategy to redefine our status as the first people of the earth, the aboriginal indigenous tribes of the planet. A universal tribe created in the image of Elohim, the sovereign Creator, whose ancient laws granted us dominion over the planet, as recorded in the Book of Beginnings. The divide and conquer strategy was predicated and successfully implemented through attacks defining whoever were. I asked does a bird tease to be a bird because you take it out of the jungle and put it in a tag. No, the bird is not defined by its cage but by its phenotype. Archaeology and geography defines where we are. But genetics and genealogy defines who we are. And our spirituality defines what we are. And what we are is free and independent human beings created in the image of a sovereign Creator, as acknowledged by Jefferson, one of several framers of the Constitution of the United States of America. This edict recognized as a supreme law of the land. This land being ours by right of preeminent birth and inheritance. As such, we declare our right to exist upon this earth as independent sovereign human beings, who are planetary citizens. This is not only our universal right but a sacred one. Samuel shook his head. He thought it was some more left, anyways, that was prophetess Akela Malik, one of my favorites. The king a deep breath, powerful. No, let's say, where did he stop yesterday, pausing for a moment? Oh, yeah. This is the part where our story begins in like Providence. Come to think of it. I haven't been to many places that haven't been alongside the Higuay sitting in Atano. No, I have been as far south as Waterproof, Louisiana, and as far north as Chicot, Arkansas, where me and your grandmother got married. Asked. He paused again thinking. Well, my grandfather lived in Indianola, Mississippi. I've been there quite a few times, especially when I was younger. So that's about it as far as the west. I haven't gone any further than Delhi, Louisiana. Ole Louisiana. Did you know we're the only planet that uses parishes instead of counties? Even to this day, you must understand the history. But for now, we're going to just focus on this town called Lake Providence to understand. Man named wanyenyekevu a young warrior. You say the alien technology affected many of the cities along the east and west coast, but Louisiana and Mississippi were some of the few places hardly touched by this new world of technology created by these Albanians. In Louisiana, places like New Orleans, Shreveport, and Baton Rouge turned into metros or ville de boule, which means in our native tongue bubble cities. In Mississippi, we only have a Jackson and Gulfport. Ili usete word wakatilians from now on because some of these people are not of our tribe, but are still considered wakatilians. Kush shook his head, okay. Samuel continued, the wakatilians mostly lived in these types of rural areas. Guess it started when the Europeans settled Lake Providence and surrounding areas in the late 1830s. Once the federal government started enforcing the indigenous people, they called natives. Further west of the Mississippi River and took their land. They drained the cypress swamps along the Mississippi River and used slaves to clear the land for cultivation. Bite mid-ondoa 1800s, Louisiana was so ruthless and heartless back then that they jailed our people for no reason at all. Even our women were housed in the same cells as male prisoners, and some became pregnant willingly and many unwillingly. Of course, they passed laws declaring that all children born in the prison of our people serving life sentences would be the state's property. The women would raise the kids until the age of kumi, then auctioned off and the proceeds were used to fund schools for white children. Do you know who purchased these kids? Mostly prison officials, of course. Kush looked up and saw a tear fall from Samuel's eyes. Samuel pauses as he wiped the tear from his eyes, then takes a long sig as he continues, anyways, by the start of the American Civil War, the region mainly consisted of large cotton plantations along the river, which were worked by elfumojas of slave laborers. Lake Providence quickly developed after the Union Army came and built itself as a supply depot. The soldiers started digging a canal between the Mississippi River and Lake Providence. This was the same time slaves strode into the camp at Lake Providence, thinking they were about to get their freedom. The population quickly went from a few mia moja to several elfu moja. A military supply camp quickly turned into a city of slave refugees. They historically developed Lake Providence into cotton plantations before and after the Civil War. By the late 1800s, trade became famous because of the Mississippi River. Longboatmen eventually were replanted by the steamboats transported animal pelts, indigo and of course, cotton, on the Mississippi River, making Lake Providence a significant trading town. The carpetbaggers or scalawags, as they were called, were greedy and heartless men who took advantage of the situation because there was a long line of abandoned plantations leased by the military. They wanted free labor, slaves. These scalawags were nothing more than ruthless overseers. They said the most negligent planter had shown more respect for their slave than these men. I'm going to say this and continue because I don't enjoy thinking about this and you can read about that on your own. But slaves that were too old, sick or too young were weeded out and sent to federal contraband villages in camps along the river. These villages included Wilman, Transylvania, Omega, Ashley, and lastly Here in Tallulah. And Higwai Sitini Natano was born. Pausing for a minute, he continued. Oh, I will also say that they charged the slaves up to 5 times the actual value of things. Slaves were always told that their master owed them nothing by the end of the year, but they actually owed him money, and they would often boast about their deception. So we were always in debt, and many felt they could never get out from under them. So our people were mentally, physically, and financially slaves, and they held us back for centuries. Anyhow, one of these plantations was a plantation. This is where one of our descendants was a slave, Willis Reynolds. We know very little of his birth or death. But according to the 1998 census of a plantation, Willis and Kate were born in 1854. His parents were from Virginia, and her parents were from Florida. It was a common practice to take our people's babies at or near birth so their parents weren't able to teach them who they were. But that's another story for later. Willis and Kate at that time only had 4 kids: Sims, William, Samuel, and Rebecca. However, they had 5 more who came along later: Grant, Leona, Albert, Belle, and Sue. They had names from their former slave owners. In their case, it was Reynolds. As a matter of fact, everyone had surnames or government names back then, and clans were not adopted again until the Albanians came on the scene. Education was poor back then. Most never saw the 6th grade. His son, Sam or Samuel Reynolds, was born in 1875 as a sharecropper but died a freeman here in Tallulah in 1985. They named me after him. Sam Reynolds married Cherry Relic on March 9, 1920 in Chillicothe, Arkansas. She was born in 1992 and died in 1998. Even her last name was spelled Moretan. Onewai, like Reddick and Relics, and they had 5 boys: Samager, Willis, Clifton, James, and John. They had 5 girls: Elizabeth, Essie Lee, John's twin sister, Cora Lee, Leah Gussie, and the baby girl, our descendant, Mary Reynolds. Cherry's mother was Maria Johnson, and her parents were Tom and Violet Johnson, both born in Lake Providence. Tom and Violet had 2 other children named Susan and Henry. Little is known of Cherry's father other than he died in Mississippi. There are speculations that his name might have been Ben, Benny, or Mac, and he lived in Bolivar County, Mississippi. But her mother, Maria, remarried Silas Diggs, Sir, and they had Willie, Isaiah, Hezekiah, Elizabeth, Lizzie, Silas J, and Wesley. These are your ancestors from your mother's side of the family. On your father's side, it's a little confusing, but there is more information because they were mostly Anacatas, but this is what I know. Samuel took a deep breath. John Bolin was born in 1987 and married Miranda Chaddick. Their children were Arthur, James, Ezekiel, Kekelia, Rebecca, Sarah, Susanna, and William. James Bolin, our descendant, married Francis Pitts and their children were Tos, but Tos was named Tos Van and his nickname was T, so it was Tos Van, Mary Ann, Sarah, William Harrison, John, Francis, and Laura. Samuel paused for a moment. I'm not even halfway through, but you can read it yourself. Passing him a book. Push smiled. Now, then Daddy, I like it when you read it to me. Samuel gave him a look. Well, most of the people I mentioned lived in Natchez, Roxie, and Amite, Mississippi, except when William came to Tallulah with his son. It might have been racially motivated because of To's son William, who was named after his brother. William Harrison, who died. Scratching his head, he told you it was confusing. You know what it might have been William's son Albert, who married Awakatilians and created a rift in the family. Hell, I don't know, it might have been the both of them because William and Albert, both, lived right here in Tallulah. I'm just guessing about that part, but I know no one came to visit him but his brother James, who himself moved to Jackson, Mississippi, afterward. Anyways, Tos Van's son, William married Lizzie. She died rig up the street in Thomastown in 1949, but their children were Leona, John, James, Sam, our descendant, Albert, and Leon Bolin. That's as far as I'm going, but I will say Uhentos Bolin was born in 1832 and his son, William, was born in Natchez, Mississippi, around 1868 and eventually moved to Rotier, Mississippi, around the time of the Devils. Punch Bowl. Kush located at Samuel, Devil's Punch Bowl. What's a Devil's Punch Bowl? Well, the Irish were often used as overseers, especially in the South, and many said after the horrific event was coined the Devil's Punch Bowl. Kush said, Ireland. Samuel said, yes, but that's another history lesson. Let's just say he's a descendant of Chi on her father's side of the family for now. Anyway, let's say, ok. Albert Bolin. Oh shit. I'm trying to follow this thing, hold all those questions for now. Samuel paused as he tried to remember where he left off. No, I got it, most of them Bolins were brought here during the Great Irish Invasion of 1840. I'm just going to start with William. You can ask Kakahoya about and I'll call William Will from now on. Kush shook his head. Ok, I'll ask Mammalian and Big Ma about talking to plants and about this too, when I get a chance, as Samuel continued. Great. No, Will was a just man and was reminded of the mistreatment of his people and the many problems in Ireland, and when they became overseers, some of them couldn't stomach the mistreatment of Wakatilians. It reminded them of what their people had escaped from, so they left. Moving from Natchez, Mississippi, they quickly made their way to Rotier, Mississippi. There is so much missing on your father's side of the family because the fire in 1920 destroyed the census reports, but you can ask your father, he knows more than I do. I did some research and found out this information. I'm about to tell you. I know that not long after slavery, two of the Bolin brothers, Albert and James, whom they called Jim, got into the lumber business, a very lucrative business in Louisiana during this time. I know that the lumber business was growing so fast that Will and his family moved here to Tallulah. James and his brother, Albert, heard of a new lumber mill built just 82 miles north of them in Tallulah, so they convinced their father and packed their bags. Not long after arriving there, Albert fell madly in love with a young lady named Catherine Wilson from Camac, Louisiana. James was furious, not because he hated Wakatilians but because he feared for his brother's life, for this was a time when Anakatas couldn't marry Wakatilians. You can rape them, and abuse them but not fall in love with them. Albert's skin was white, so he was white. If they had known he was Irish, they wouldn't have a problem with it. They should first, then ask questions later back then. He paused, it's about na and not skin color no, so happens that same na contains that same color. As he was saying out of frustration, Ole James moved to Jackson, Mississippi, and Albert stayed here and bought up tisini na tisa acres of land, moving into a farm in the middle of Tallulah, away from the public's eye, and married Catherine. They had 12 children. Samuel held up his fingers as he counted. 6 boys, David, Albert, Jer, Doyle, Willie, Johnny, and Jimmy, and 6 girls, Thelma, Bertha, Geraldine, Catherine, Marisue, and Albertine Bolin. Remember, they didn't have tribes or clans back then, but since they weren't slaves, they brought their last names with them from Ireland. Samuel took a long deep sigh as he leaned back. Whoa! As years passed, Albert's son, Willie, and Sam Reynolds' daughter, Mary, got married and had 3 children, Willie Jer, there goes another one. Damn, was there any other names than Will, William, and Willie back then? Shouted Samuel. On top of that, Bill is short for William. As they started logging, he continued. Anyways, they also had a daughter named Annette and a son named Larry. Mary later married and had 3 more daughters with Melvin Harrison, Melinda, Darlene, and Tammy. Larry married Dekwe, and they had Justine. Justine had Ajani during the Rate War of 2025. Kush interrupted, "Oh, ignore this part. Ajani had Alenia, Alenia had Namito, Namito had Kisoma, Kisoma had Bandile, Bandile had Bokamoso." Samuel smiled as Kush continued. Chetan had Maggie, Maggie had Atayan, Atayan had Elon. Samuel stopped him. "No, not Elon, but Elan, and Elan had Etu, Etu had Ahanu, Ahanu had Mpo, Mpo had Lubanzi." Together Samuel and Kush finished the family tree, but Kush stopped at Eze, but Samuel helped him. Eze had Tablita and Tablita had Liberté, Uhose name was changed bisabaut to wanyenyekevu. It impressed Samuel how Kush could recite the family tree at his age, very good, just over 10 years old. Samuel told Kush, "But those times have been long gone, and it has been over 1,000 years, and like a providence hasn't changed that much. Many of the old abandoned plantations are used as libraries and museums now. Plenty of wild animals roam the land, and we still ride on horseback to get around, and most people here are community farmers." Samuel talked about what he was saying and felt happy. "Yeah, even the creeks, ponds, and lakes haven't been affected much by the abundance and this new age of technology. We work together to keep the air and the water clean." He took an even longer pause and sat there just thinking, and then said, "Sorry, Kush, my mind is all over the place. But start with our ancestor, Tablita, whom we take our tribal name from. Him and his wife Abba along with his children, 5 boys, and 6 girls, lived just a quarter of a mile east of that small river we call Tebar, in Lake Providence. Tablita was a spiritual man, and Abba, his wife, was a seer. They both taught their children the ways of Sabbath. Liberté was the youngest, 5'4", 8.5 inches tall, and weighed roughly on 175 pounds. He had a deep love for Sabbath and loved his story. He was thin but a very muscular young man, born in 1319. Liberté was also a poet and loved writing about the different things he saw in his life, but mainly about the injustice of his people and his love for Sabbath. On a night when he was 16 years old, he took a long walk alongside the Lake Providence because he couldn't sleep. Sitting down at the lake, he looked across it, looking at the fish jumping, and said, "Fishing," so he took out a small flashlight and began to read. "We as humans are all brothers. Doesn't matter the color or creed. It's love that we need. Do I have to repeat it? We all are brothers. There are many that hate, there are many who dispute was the greatest. To me, it's not about color of skin, type of kin. Your diction on religion, it is really not about politics. It's all about the Almighty. And searching for him is like fishing. Some get up early, about 5 in the morning, some go around noon, and some go late in the day, just to get away. It doesn't matter when you go. It's where you go and how you fish. Everyone has their style. Their method of fishing, but all have to be patient, just like when you search for the Almighty. Many come early, some come late. But once you get there, you receive your reward from the Lord. Those that don't fish don't know what they are missing. When you are sad, frustrated, angry, mad, or bored, try fishing for the will, the power, the salvation of the Lord. As Liberté was writing, a messenger appeared before him. unaware that it was the ancient Mfariji, a spiritual entity that we Wakatilians believe guides our path. The messenger first came to him as an elderly man. Why is it you can't sleep, young Liberté? Has the spirit of Sabbath prepared you for your journey? Liberté puzzled, what journey do you speak of? He just couldn't sleep and took a walk along the lake until he came across. Hey, who is it you know me name? Liberté asked as he put up his notebook and gathered his thoughts as he stood up. The messenger continued, the spirit of King Solomon is upon you. Sabbath have blessed you with Solomon's wisdom, heart, and soul. Like Elijah, Elisha, and countless others, Sabbath often used on a man to get his people to say, you and your descendants, after you, will use words of wisdom, piety, and the sword to destroy Sabbath's enemies. Your writings have reached the ears of Sabbath, and he rejoices in your words. For this reason, you are no longer called Liberté but wanyenyekevu. The old man transformed into a wolf. Liberté shook his head and rubbed his eye as the man continued to speak. In 3 days, you will see me again in this form, and I will be your guide on a journey. For the next 3 days you shall perform the holy journey and bid your family farewell, for they will not see you for 150 seasons. Know this, before you leave the state of Louisiana, you will endure many trials and tribulations to enhance your spiritual man as well as your physical body that will prepare you for your journey. Be not afraid, for Sabbath will be with you along the way. No physical harm shall befall you. Quickly interrupting, Liberté smiled and sighed, how can a man live to be 150 seasons? Sir, the ancient Mfariji said, you know that with Sabbath, all things are possible, but it will not be you, but your blood and your spirit that shall return to Sabbath's people, and his name shall be called Cush. With your blood, in saying, you shall say more, and for hearing, you shall hear more. And with your spirit, you shall control the flesh, say with the ears of Sabbath, and teach others to do the same. The old man smiled as he transformed again, behold, your wife. As they continued, an image of a beautiful woman appears in a cloud of smoke. Your spirits are one, and the love you share will be forever. It will be remembered as an example of Sabbath's happiness between man and woman. Liberté said curiously, wife? Liberté? 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 He heard a voice cry out, what is that? Liberté said as he turned around. It was his loving mother, Abba. It is past noon, you lie in bed as if you have nothing to do, go fetch the water so I may water my garden. His father, Tabitha, looked at Liberté and shook his head in anger. Liberté stood up in his bed and grabbed his notepad. He scrambled through the pages and saw the poem, fishing. He rushed to get dressed and dashed out the door to get water for his mother's garden. He was also confused about what had happened. Was it a dream or vision from Sabbath? Then he reached down to get the water out of the river, and as he reached into the water, an image of the wolf appeared in the water. Hearing, in 3 days, make haste, he heard the voice of the messenger once again. Jene was a ritual performed by the Wakatilians. On a world go without food or fast as you consecrate yourself to the Lord. By doing so, you rebuilding up the spiritual man and lowering or resisting the physical man or your flesh. Flesh refers to your material or fleshy weaknesses and desires. The holy Jene was more intense than a regular Jene or fast. You spent the entire time in a room filled with smoke from heads that enabled you to say more and hear more. As Liberté looked back to see if there was indeed a wolf behind him, he said to himself, he must return and prepare himself for the journey. He grabbed the bucket filled with water and ran home, spilling water everywhere along the path. He reached home and ran into the house to his mother and father. Liberté said quickly and fiercely, "I have seen the manifestos of the ancient Mfariji." He was instructed to perform the holy journey for the next 3 days, and I shall not say your fate again after that. Let us perform the holy journey together, for I shall need your guidance, and all that you have taught me must be enforced. Upon explaining what had happened to him, Tabitha's fate and spirit changed and answered, "So it is." Liberté read from the Book of Kings, from the ancient Torah, a book the Wakatilians believed contained the words of Sabbath. After 2 days of training and fasting with his father, he spends on a day in a holy journey with his mother and siblings. He knew they would not say one another again, with tears in their eyes but joy as well in their heart, for they knew Sabbath had led him to do great work in his life. On the 3rd day, around dusk, the wolf appeared to Liberté. With sadness in his eyes, he bid his family farewell and left on his journey. Wanyenyekevu. Liberté turned around. His father was weeping with tears in his eyes. Wanyenyekevu was in shock, for he had told no one of his new name. As he slowly turned back around, his heart was filled with sadness, for he knew he would never see his family again. "Make me proud, my son," said Tabitha. With tears in his eyes, he replied, "It will be so."